It was 75 years ago today that Allied troops stormed the beaches at Normandy, turning the tide of the Second World War, but at great cost in lives. While world leaders gathered in France to mark the anniversary, the fallen were also remembered here at home, as Julian reports from our Washington bureau.
The National World War II Memorial in Washington is a place for reflection, but visitors here last night had extra cause to reflect.
Farrow, Harry C. Faulkner.
Visitors had the chance to stop and listen as volunteers read the names of those who died during the D-Day invasion of Normandy 75 years ago today. Nearly 9,000 names in all. Arizona Congresswoman Debbie Lesko, the daughter of a World War II veteran, said it was an honor to read some of those names on this day.
It's just a great feeling. I'm here. Right here in front of us is the World War II Memorial, and behind us the Washington Monument. What better place could we do this than here? And I'm so glad.
The memorial sits between the Washington Monument and Lincoln Memorial, a pool and fountains surrounded by towering granite pillars for each state and arches for the theaters of war. Scenes of soldiers in action circle the memorial, and one wall is covered with thousands of stars, each one representing 100 soldiers who died. Lesko's father survived the war, but she said he still carried scars.
His Navy boat was a victim of a kamikaze suicide plane, and many of his friends died, and he was ordered to go and pick up some bodies, and he would stop talking about it because it was so painful to him.
The 9,000 names read here did not account for everyone who was lost in the Normandy invasion, only those buried at the Normandy American Cemetery in France.
Unfortunately, there's no full list of names of all of those who died during Operation Overlord, but we do have the list of those buried in the cemetery, and so we're honoring all who gave their lives and sacrificed in the service for our country today, but by reading the names of the list that we do have.
And for a moment, the sky cleared from beyond the Lincoln Memorial, shining a little light along the water and the 56 granite pillars.
So for the families and the children and the grandchildren of all those that served in World War II, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your service, and for all the active duty military now, thank you for what you do for our country. We would not be the nation that we are without you.
The readings went until midnight Eastern Time, about the same time that Allied landing craft would have been nearing the beaches of Normandy 75 years ago today. On the National Mall in Washington, Julian, Cronkite News.
The World War II Memorial is one of the newest in the nation's capital, opening just 15 years ago. But in that time, it has become one of the most popular. The National Park Services says more than 65 million people visited the memorial through 2018. Senator Martha McSally joined President Donald Trump at the D-Day Remembrance in Normandy. President Trump and other world leaders greeted veterans near Omaha Beach, the site of the Allied invasion in 1944 that ultimately pushed the Nazi forces from France. Senator McSally spoke to several Arizona veterans who were there for the ceremony, and she shared her own experience.
75 years ago, amazing heroes from America and our allies stormed these beaches in order to fight against tyranny, change the tide of the war, and protect our freedoms and way of life. I was so honored to meet so many of them, to include Arizonan George Cross. George was a paratrooper who jumped in behind enemy lines like so many did in order to disrupt the lines of communication and create confusion by the Germans so that the other heroes could continue to take this ground and end this awful, evil war. I'm so inspired and grateful. It's been the honor of my life to be able to be here today and to celebrate this day, and I hope all as Americans and Arizonans, we never forget their sacrifice and what they gave. Their last full measure of devotion. I walked by those crosses in the cemetery and saw the names of Arizonans there. Let us never, ever forget.
Small American and French flags were placed on the graves to mark the 75th anniversary of D-Day.